What's going on? What's going on, team? Welcome to Money Monday. I decided I'm going to start calling these weekly stock talks Money Monday. So if you guys like that name, drop some likes or drop your suggestions in the bottom. Taking suggestions at this time. um, so welcome to the channel. My name is Xander with Fates Trading Academy, and this week we're going to be taking a look at some stocks that are presenting some great opportunities for this upcoming week. Before we do that, though, I'm going to run through the stocks that we talked about last week and show you guys the results from that. So if you guys are tuned in, have been watching these videos, you guys probably caught these great opportunities and made some money in the markets. If you haven't, then definitely subscribe below, drop a like, drop a comment as to what you guys are watching, and let's hop right into it. So from last week, we had about 30 stocks that had some great opportunities after that pullback in the market that we saw. So the first one we're going to take a look at that we talked about was called apps, APPS. Since we talked about it, we had a huge run up. It was about let's take a quick measure. It was about a 42% run that you guys could have caught if you guys would have just watched this video and followed along with it. That's just one. We had SKLZ that we talked about. This one, since Monday, we had a run up of 25%. The next one we talked about was PINS. This one had a run up of 11%. We also talked about NVDA. This one had a run up of 8%. We also talked about CHGG. This one had a run up of 10%. I mean, the list goes on, guys. ARKK we talked about. This one had a run up since last Monday of 11%. We also talked about FSLY. This one had a run up of 16.5%. I mean, guys, if this isn't, a reason to subscribe and like this video, then I don't know what is. But I mean, the list goes on. If you guys want, I'm going to link the video from last week right up here. So you guys can click on that and watch what we talked about. That way you guys can kind of see how, the thought process works, what we're looking for, and how these opportunities ended up playing out. And you could have capitalized on these opportunities and on these gains that happened. This week, we don't really have, 30 stocks. I think that was a little different. Just because we had such a big market sell-off that there was so many opportunities that presented themselves this week. I mean, there's definitely plenty out there, but we're going to be focused on a 15 that I am going to be looking at. So I would definitely add these to your watch list, and let's dive right into it. So Dkng is the first one that I'm going to be paying attention to. We saw a little bit of a pullback. We've seen consistent uptrend on the SMA line here. We saw a little bit of a pullback here from 74.09 down to this volume profile level. That's very big. So I'm expecting some support here. If we hold this, I expect it to, turn around. Our RSI is indicating potential reversal, not so much on the MACD yet, but we are not very overbought. We're not really oversold. But DKNG has been one. It was also one from last week that we've been watching. This was one of the ones that we saw huge gains on. So I expect this one to continue to have a continuation on this one. The next one that we are going to be looking at is BABA, BABA. This one's had, its fair share of selling off. Let's go ahead and zoom out. See a bigger picture. We've been tracking this one for some time now. We found support here. We ended up making highs of 274 here, and then we ended up pulling back close to a similar support that we had back here. However, this one was a stronger support. We also see that support represented in this volume profile here on the right that we're watching, we are near the oversold area, and we are potentially starting to see a potential reversal here. We are approaching the EMA right at this level. So once we break this EMA, I expect, higher highs to start forming, especially with everything picking back up. I see a lot of potential in this one. And I mean, from current price levels to previous highs back in, November, we're looking at about 28%. And this is a strong, consistent company. So this is a company, I'm paying attention to, and I think it's got great potential. The next one is going to be Walmart, WMT. This one also, had quite a bit of a sell-off with the market selling off. We did end up finding support at this level down here around 126. It did break a little bit of the support that the previous support level that we were watching. It did make a new one right here. And then we started seeing higher highs starting to form. We ended up breaking this level of the volume profile, and we're continuing up to the upside. So I'm expecting, higher highs out of Walmart as well, with everything starting to pick up once again. We are in a bit of a, overbought territory. However, I'm watching this for the big picture longer term. So, from current price points to previous highs, 13.28% is not bad at all, considering that this is a strong, consistent company that's probably not going anywhere, The next one is going to be Amazon. This one also is presenting a great opportunity. Also, same thing we're looking at across the board. We're looking for strong, consistent companies. This one's been trading sideways for some time now. However, we saw an unusually large sell-off, a unusual large sell-off happen here. We once again approached the support level that we found back in September. If we create this line, you guys can see that fairly clearly. We had this support level back here in September, and then we ended up bouncing right off the support level once again. We do have a bit of a support level at this point as well, where we have more of the actual candles touching, not so much, the wick dropping to that point. So once again, we found support at this level. We made higher highs. We saw a little bit of a pullback here, so I'm waiting for a break of the EMA, and then I'm watching future upside, potential here. That, even if we're looking to where it was just maybe 2 weeks ago, that's about 7.6%. So once again, Amazon, great company, great one to be involved in. If the opportunities present themselves, definitely one I want to be paying attention to. Race, this one has not made a recovery when the market did. However, we did end up starting to make a recovery. We did break the EMA here at around the 8th, maybe 9th. And then we've been trending up above this EMA line. So I see quite a bit of potential here. We're only about 54 on the RSI. And then the MACD, we can potentially start seeing a consolidation if we hold this volume level here, based off the volume profile. From current price points to previous highs, we're looking at, 16.42%. And this is Ferrari. This is just more of a company that I'm personally just interested in. And, there's also a great opportunity and great potential that is presenting itself. So, want to pay attention to as well. Oracle, ORCL. This one is probably one of the better ones that out of all of them so far, probably one of the better opportunities. We saw a huge drop here after earnings. And then we're starting to see a slow recovery. I'm watching for a break above this EMA level. Once we do see a break above this EMA level, we can potentially expect higher highs to continue. If we're looking from the current price to previous highs, that's about 8.13%. And then if we're paying attention to the RSI and the MACD, we're potentially beginning to form a reversal. Once again, we do want to wait for that confirmation. And then once we see that confirmation, that might be an indication for a potential entry, if that's something that you're interested in looking at. However, as long as we're still below the EMA, not something that I would be jumping into yet or getting a position started. I'm definitely waiting for a break and some sort of confirmation that we're continuing to the upside. The next one is going to be PINS. That's Pinterest. Huge sell-off. we haven't quite made that full recovery. So we are still at levels that we were at back in, January, end of December, um, beginning of December. We're still about those levels. So from current price points, we have been holding above the EMA. From current price points back to previous highs, 22%. We've got plenty of room to run on the RSI. And as far as the MACD goes, we did end up making that reversal once we saw that break. So last week when we talked about this one, that was the entry point. That was when you should have been paying attention to it. However, it might not be too late to jump into it. As long as we break this SMA line, I see great potential coming back up to that 89. So I'd also be paying attention to this one. I will be paying attention to this one, FSLY, one of the runners from last week that we paid attention to. We saw that bounce, and then we ended up seeing this recovery happening. This is also one that I'm still going to be paying attention to. Once again, longer term, we are approaching this cluster of volume here that we see at 85-ish level. So if we do end up breaking this level right here and hold, I'm looking at this more of a longer term type thing. That's about 36%. And that's one that I'd be paying attention to. We have been seeing a consistent, pattern of the same kind of price action happening here. We saw the price heading up. We had a rejection around 120, head back down to 173. Came back up a little bit, came back down to 73 once again, came back down to 73 once again, found support here. And once again, came up down to 120, a little bit higher, hit 136, and then came back down once again to a little past 73. We hit, 63, came back up once again. Didn't go all the way to 120, but we're still making that uptrend. Came back down, came back up to 120 once again, that support, that resistance level, and then we came back down once again to that 63.58 level, and now we're starting to head back up. So this one I'm expecting to possibly start, I don't want to set a price target, but I'm definitely gonna be watching this one as it's uptrending. At the first signs of a reversal to the downside, that would be the exit. But this is one that I'm watching. I do have a starter position going in this one. And so this one from current prices, if we're looking at, even to previous highs of, 105, we're looking at about 38%. If we're looking at previous recent highs, that's about 58%. If we're looking at all-time highs, we're looking at about 75%. So quite a bit of, I would say, potential here. One to definitely pay attention to. We are a little bit overbought, I would say, but at the end of the day, if you're looking at this a little bit longer term, that shouldn't be, too scary for you. At least it's not for me. And if I do see some pullback, I'll just add to that position that I have going already. The next one that I'm going to be paying attention to is AFRM. This one had a nice pullback here of about, I want to say, saw a pullback of about 48%. So we are starting to see some support here at this cluster of volume on the volume profile. And we are starting to make higher highs. So potentially, as long as we're holding above this EMA, this is one that I'd be paying attention to, potentially be interested in making intraday moves on. With, no expectation of this heading that high, but, with the potential of it heading back up to, the 146 mark, or even, the 121 mark from back in, this was fairly recent as well. Maybe like 2 weeks ago. So, that is 32%. All-time highs was about 42%. So once again, one to be paying attention to, that's AFRM, AFRM, firm. The next one is going to be AAPL, that is Apple. Once again, strong, consistent company. We like those. Had a huge sell-off with the market selling off. We found support at 115, and we are starting to make higher highs. We have broken EMA. We are potentially approaching, we are approaching this 126 level. So this is a level I'd be watching for either taking profit. It looks like it would be a little bit overbought at that level. So I'd be a little cautious of this level. However, from current price points to previous highs, we're looking at about 16.6%. Apple's probably going to be around for quite some time. So not one I'd be concerned about. But, this dip opportunity that we haven't seen in some time, I mean, not something as significant as, you know, what are we looking at? Looking at, you know, 20%. We haven't seen that too often. Last time we saw that was back, you know, August. Yeah, August we saw, you know, a 24% sell off, which was a good buying opportunity. I'm not saying this is, but definitely one to pay attention to. And there is potential here. My, you know, I want to open the opportunities up to you guys so that you guys can see these as well. And you guys can decide whether you guys want to jump in on these or not. And if it's, you know, something that you're comfortable with or something you've been watching, or, you know, if you see value in the stock as well. Chegg, also CHGG, recently broke the EMA line. We have been heading up. We have room on the RSI. We're at about 57 right now. You know, we have all the way up till 70 plus before we're in the overbought territories. However, you know, this was a huge sell-off that we haven't seen as well on this, something like this in a while as either. So from current price points to previous highs, we're looking at about 20%. That's pretty significant. We have, you know, a strong trend going on the MACD. RSI is looking fairly healthy as well. This is one that I, you know, pretty interested in as well. One that I'm going to be watching closely. The next one is Lmnd. This one also has had, you know, we've been watching this one for some time as well. And last week we announced this one as well. We talked about it. And then we saw a strong push up of about, you know, it was about 25% on this one. So if you guys caught that trend, congrats. However, you know, at this point, we are approaching this resistance level. So we're going to watch this. If it does break this resistance level, I would be definitely interested in something like this. This is one that has had a strong, consistent uptrend, you know, pretty much for, you know, quite some time. We've been holding above this SMA line, then we ended up dipping down, and then we found support. So I'm expecting this one to, you know, in the near future, or, you know, make higher highs as well and potentially head back to previous highs, which would be about 39%. As long as we're holding above and break this support level here, well, resistance level at this point. But if we break this resistance level here, I expect this to continue up, probably watching the 133 level afterwards. That would be the SMA line. If we break that, then, you know, we're definitely seeing a strong uptrend on this one. The next one is AONE. This one is more of a SPAC company. I'm watching this one mostly because they are working with, you know, doing the merger, or with, what's the company called? Markforged. So once they do end up not doing the merger, I guess, but they're taking Markforged public. So that's what's happening. And if you do some research about the company of, you know, Markforged, you're going to see how involved this company really is with things. So I believe that when that does happen, we might see a significant spike in price on AONE. And so at this point, you know, I see even from that, that's more from a fundamental side. From a technical side, if we're looking at it, we're seeing support here at this volume cluster on the volume profile. We're also, you know, staying above this EMA line. We are above the SMA line. We have room. We're only at about 58 on the RSI. It looks like we are consolidating here today. We were, so, you know, and we're only at 1294. So back to previous highs, that's about 14%. And that's before anything even happens. You know, obviously we have potential to start heading down, or maybe go into a little bit of a correction here. But this is one I just be paying attention to, and I'd be also paying attention to what's going on with Markforged. And then, you know, this could play out to be a very good stock to, you know, keep on your watch list and keep on your radar. Two more, guys. The next one is SKLZ. That wasn't typing. SKLZ. This one had a nice dip as well. Strong consistent pattern above the SMA line. We like seeing that. We saw a nice blow off and then pull back down to the SMA line. A little bit of a hold here, and then we ended up dipping. And now we are approaching this SMA line. So we have plenty of room. We're on like 63 here on the RSI. MACD is looking strong. We ended up holding at this volume cluster here on the volume profile. And then as we're going to be breaking, if we do break this SMA line, I see potential. So that's going to be what I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be watching that SMA line. If we do end up breaking it, you know, there's potential for a 37% profit here, back to previous highs at 46.3. And I'm just analyzing these on the 4-hour frequency, guys. So, you know, just keep that in mind. The last one is probably one of the more interesting ETFs that I'm paying attention to, and that is ARK, ARKK. So this one had a strong pullback. They had a very high stake in Tesla. And so when Tesla began to pull back, obviously this one has pulled back alongside with it. While this one pulled back, you know, we're finding quite a bit of support here at this level, which was approximately right over here was the resistance, the previous resistance level that we ended up breaking, which ended up being the support for this and pullback here. And then once we saw that pullback, we saw an instant recovery happening once the market started recovering as well. So we've been holding above the EMA line here. We did end up breaking this significant volume cluster. So as long as we're holding above this one, I once again have a starter position in this as well. I have been watching this one for some time, and you know, if we're, you know, gonna be conservative and, you know, look at, you know, previous highs that we went at, the last, you know, to previous highs of 159, we're looking at about 19.1%. That is not bad considering that this is an ETF, and you know, this one is involved with quite a bit of great companies. And so, you know, do some research about, you know, the ARK ETF, what they are part of, and then make the decision for yourselves. However, you know, we haven't seen a pullback like that since basically July. We've just had a strong, consistent uptrend going on this ETF. And then once we saw this massive pullback, you know, that was something that caught my eye. Something that I think you guys should pay attention to and definitely add to your watch list. So that's about it, guys, for this week. If you guys enjoyed this video, smash that thumbs up button, show some support. It definitely helps the channel, and I would appreciate that a lot. If you guys aren't subscribed and you like this kind of content, make sure you guys subscribe. We drop these videos weekly. Once again, if you look back at previous week's video, you can see the potential that you could have, you know, achieved if you would have just watched these videos or if you would have been subscribed. So make sure to subscribe. Don't miss out. And I'll see you guys on next week's video. Have a great week.